Okay, good evening, everyone. This is MMM Nigeria Guided School, batch 2017-0317, group 6. And we are just tuning into the Business Games presentation for Circle 5. We have Innocent Bature, who's going to be doing the presentation for Circle 5. All right, Innocent, you can go ahead with your presentation.
Good evening. My name is Innocent Bature, uh, a Circle rep for Circle 5, and I'm here to present tax. Our tax also was to develop MMM in Cameroon, and officially we discovered that Cameroon has it's one of the 51st largest country in the world. It has over 24 people and speaks French and English, but the official language in Cameroon is French. The capital is Yaoundé, and Douala is also the second largest city in Cameroon. And the country has a low average GDP per capita. Local currency in the Central African CFA, and it's about 608 CFA to the dollar. Well, having looked into the country, we did a SWOT analysis on it, and we found out that one of the things that we have going, that the country has going for itself is it has a fast growing domestic market. So we look at it, it was going to work in our own favor. We also look at their weaknesses, like they lack enough capital, and it's very hard to get access to other financial source. So very for MMM to try. We looked at it also as very good. The country has opportunities. The high domestic population. Has the potential to grow in various fields. MMM will work very well there. And as a country, seriously, it has high cost in production. That, under our SWOT analysis, was one of the threats. Having said that, we had to go to a team of 9 persons were deployed based on the knowledge we had received in the school. We had access to the internet, which as one of their strengths, they had access to good internet data. So we had to go straight to tuitions, in Cameroon, to introduce MMM to the resident. So what we did was, on arrival, we had to, first things first, a large population in Cameroon speaks French. So the first thing first is to have our ad hoc committee, our ad hoc workers arranged, people who will work as interpreters. We have those persons to be able to tell us what it will look like. And then second, we now looked at building a show website that will be straight to Cameroon itself. We opted for a website that would work very well. Then the next thing, those persons we had to employ to work as our ad hoc workers, training them, because there's no way carrying people who will interpret for you who do not understand the system you are introducing. So they were our official contributors that we had to bring into MMM. And then we now began to think of how to hold seminars and other professional ways of marketing MMM. We produced T-shirts for people. We had target as our target audience at places where people would work, and then we chose Yaoundé first, and then sort of stretching our reach to Douala, because these two places had large influx of tourists based on the eco potentials that these major cities have. And during this first, have a target for ourselves to get 450 donuts in the first week, and basically during the first week we had a rundown of based on the $1,000 we had to have a hotel accommodation, transportation, handles, postcards, cameras, projectors, we made T-shirts and all these things. Everything in the first week, our budget fell into $10,023. We did a deduction from the 50,000 at the end of the first week. We had $39,877. Now, take note what we had to work with. We had to raise 450 participants with the average contribution of for the same first week. We had a summary of our donors contributing $45,000. So after a week had passed, we looked at the average contributors, which takes us to second task. Our solution with the average, our solution for the second task takes us to look at what contributors will have, what we're going to, the average contributors. We now have the average contributor at $100 per participant. Our aim was to know how many participants has been registered into the community to cater for the 30% growth of the whole. After 30 days, we found out that we needed a total of 450 persons, which would 67,500, which is supposed to be what we have as payout. Now, when we looked at it, what we had as the first contribution dollars, we did a calculation, deducting that from the 67,000, having a deficit of $22,500. Now, to this thing, to be able to pay $22,500, to add to this extra amount to pay to the older 10% registration bonus, we needed $22,500. Now, we looked at how we were going. We needed contributions from new registrations. We now did a division of $22,500 by an average of $100 per participant. We found we had we needed 225 more participants for this to grow. We looked at the resources we had, and then looking at it, if we maintain our projection for expected registration for the first week, we have 3 times 450 participants, which will give us about 1,350 participants in the first month at a minimum of $100 donation. We ended up that at the end of the first month with 135,000, which will be more than enough to pay the older participants. During this extra 3 weeks, we had to hold seminars, we did promos, we paid wages, which amounted to about $15,247. We deducted it from the previous balance of the first week, which is $39,877. We ended up with $24,630. Now, taking us to the third tax, a month had passed. So our solution from the first week we had to maintain this rate for 3 weeks. We're going to end up with about 1,350 participants. Yeah. Therefore, in the 4 weeks, we had 1,800 participants. So we did our analogy at the end of the day. Participants in the system after 4 weeks owned and referred participants. What we ended up with about 3,600 participants registered at the end of 4 weeks, which at the same average of $100, we ended up with the participants. That's the amount for 4 weeks. Now you note we'll continue to meet the target registration of 450 per new participant. After the payment of the first 1,800 participants, we had a balance of $90,000. This was at the end of this second month. We also have to pay our bills with wages and seminars. From the 24,600 spent, $7,736. We are now left with $16,094. Now this amount is taking us into our fourth tax, which is after the 2 months. We realized that there was a local holiday in Cameroon that resulted to 75% drop in registration. Now, when we looked at a drop in registration, we found out that from the 450, we had a drop. We had a drop of almost 337 participants, leaving us with only 113. Now we need to make up for this loss of 38 workers. That's the 337 loss, which we devised another plan to raise this thing. Therefore, for the remaining 3 weeks, that's outside the first week with the holiday where we lost, we decided to raise the mark to achieve this thing. So we raised to 500 in order to make up for the drop. And at the end of the 4 weeks, we ended up with about 1,802 participants with donations of about 180,200. Because to achieve this, we have to intensify training. We empower more participants to be managers in the community and to increase the input and output flow, which is basically one of the main essence of MMM. Now, at the end of this third week, with the $16,894 that we had as balance, we expended $7,000. When we did our deductions, we were left with $9,579, which took us to the fifth start, which is at this point, yes, we had met our target, but we had a loss in 20% because we had contributors apathy. It had to do with most of our contributors feeling too comfortable. We had a fall in contributors. Yes, we had 1,802 participants in that week. What we had to look at the drop in contributors. We had participants who were actively participating. So we needed to make for this shortfall. Therefore, we looked at 142 contributors that we received for that month. The average donation we got from them was 144,200. Now we looked at what we needed, we saw that we needed extra 360 participants with the average of $100 to play this thing. Our resources needed. We had to train more workers, more guiders alongside, organize massive campaigns in other cities we have not reached. So we did a lot of publicity. At the end of this month, from the $9,579, $9,579, we had to do a drop in our expenses. We incurred on $983. We now had $5,596 left, which cost to the sixth tax. A long queue of persons to receive this thing, to receive our payments, the payments. So our solution was to sensitize our members, because we cost more. For most of those of us in Nigeria, we understand we had this experience before. So we had to enlighten them on the need of all participants not to give up. They were not going to lose their money. The initial deposit would not be lost. We had to run on this campaign to ensure, because there was nothing that was going to come out. We're under post mode too. But then all we needed to encourage them was to continue to advertise MMM on social network, enlighten other people. All they know that at this point, it's only time that will be wasted, not their money. They will not lose their balance. But out of the $5,596 that we had, we expended $3,132, which took us to accept. Yes, we have done everything we wanted to do the previous to see that, but our efforts wasn't enough. A restart took place. Old marbles were reduced. So the reintroduction, we had to do a reintroduction of MMM. We started, talking to people, and talk to our members and let them understand why there's a restart in the system, because our members will determine if we get new ones. So we organized meetings with members and encourage them to continue in MMM community, explaining to them this course. We reminded them about MMM 1 in notes, before registration. But then we have to also do other enlightenment videos. We showed video of testimonials. We used our YouTube channels, Facebook. We bombarded, and we kept. For us, as leaders, which we, even with our shortcoming, we had to lead the current situation by continuing to PH&J, and we invited new members. And this final, we out of the 2,400 last of 2,335 and this is how we went up. And for us doing this thing, it was not only challenging, but it was also encouraging. We are grateful to MMM and our mentor for this opportunity. Thank you very much. That's been our presentation. Circle 5 signing out.
All right, thank you so very much, Innocent. I just want to apologize to everyone. I think the line there was a bit choppy, and I'm not sure whether it's coming from my side or what. So I hope the rest of the class was able to at least get the gist of it. Unfortunately, I was able to follow on the document that the team presented. So thank you, Innocent, for that. The presentation was reading the document was very well thought out. All right, so I'm just going to end the broadcast here, and we're going to get ready for the next presentation. Thank you, Innocent.
Thank you, sir.